For 4 months every single year, Saturn, the timekeeper of reality, goes into retrograde motion and time travels backward. For you, this is happening in the sign of Aries on July 13th to November 27th. And it's going to be a very important retrograde because it's going to teach us something about what we need to leave behind, what we need to surrender or let go of in our lives in order to move forward in a new direction. And it's not something that surprises you. Saturn, as a slow moving body, and wisdom and sagacity as well, is going to show us what we already know. It's sort of like, now I see what I already know more clearly. You want something brand new in this first decan of Aries where he's retrograding. And so therefore, what this new thing is that you want and the old thing you must let go of is going to be understood over the next several months until November 27th. This is going to be a lovely deep dive for all of us into this, each separate sign. This is not going to be a world astrology report. This is going to be just for you. Settle in with a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, your favorite spritzer, or even a glass of wine for your sun, moon, and rising sign. Sun sign matters connected to your soul, of course, the deepest essence of you, but also your purpose and your career. Moon sign matters to do with your home, your domicile, and your emotional state, whereas the rising sign describes the character you play in the simulation, and this is indeed a simulation, or your avatar in the video game. It's not the totality of you, but it's certainly what you act in as and how people see you. And it circumstantially tends to lend itself for general astrology readings to predictive accuracy. But listen for all three. Let me know what you think. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac, whole sign houses, all those fixed stars and minor asteroids, and all of my up to 25 videos each month, all of them, all signs. So if you like this kind of content, hit that like button, subscribe, and you don't want to miss a thing, as they say. All right. I'm just going to briefly tell you, I'm teaching Sky Reader, Be Your Own Astrologer, Time Your Best Life. That course is happening in September, October. Find out more about it below. It's live. You have replay for evergreen access to the content. We have two communities, Discord and Facebook, to meet other students. There's going to be a lot of fun learning some easy and simple timing tools from ancient astrology that you can use even as a pretty new beginner to astrology. And the first part of the class teaches you how to read your sky. All the course description, early bird discount wait list, so you get an early bird discount code when carts open for enrollment on July 31st, is in my description box under this video. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, Saturn, we often give him a bad rap. No one likes Saturn, right? He's like this kind of hard ass. And what it is that he's also a chronicator. He's a timekeeper. And technically, we don't really understand or really get to know Saturn in our natal chart, wherever he sits in one of 12 signs and 12 whole sign houses in your chart, until after the age of 44. There are certain times where we wake up a bit, like for Saturn return, 29, 30, and then a Saturn opening square, 36. But where we really get to know Saturn is after the age of 44. And so many times people's opinion of Saturn, and it's to do with the second Saturn opposition, we often think of Saturn as just a pain in the ass, when Saturn is the sagacity of the wise woman and the wise man. He's that monk in a cave on the Himalayan mountaintop as well. But he also tells time. He's connected to the archetype of Chronos, which is the one that keeps the clicking of the ticking of our clocks going. And when he goes retrograde, we tick-tock back in time. We time travel archetypally to what we haven't completely understood, what we haven't completely known in our lives that we need to get a handle on in order to go forward with some of that sagacity and some of that deep knowing. You know, one thing about Jupiter is about what you believe, and often it involves faith and a whole constructs, including religion. But there's something in the Sufi tradition called the knowing heart. We can think and feel something, but we know something here. And I think that if you use Saturn wisely, Saturn is that knowing heart. He tells us what's deeply true and what needs to be known so that we move forward in alignment with our soul's purpose. That's just my take on it, okay? Now, it's interesting, in a natural Aries rising chart, Saturn rules the Aquarian 11th house of one's goals, dreams, and long-term wishes. I want you to consider that, because if that's true, that he rules that house, the 11th house from the vernal equinox Aries rising chart, then essentially, when he goes backwards, we reassess, revise, and rethink our long range goals, dreams, and wishes. And of course, long range, long term planning, long tail, long game. These are great Saturn words: persistence, endurance, but sagacity and wisdom and knowing. So, we're going to show you a chart. I want you to grab it. I want you to grab this and take a screenshot so you can keep track of the pre shadow, post shadow, when the retrograde happens, the degree it happens. In this retrograde, Saturn is going to backtrack into Pisces. And when I do your sign, I'll mention that as well, because he's finishing a 3-year stint in Pisces, and you want to be able to grok that and say this is his final answer about what you're supposed to have learned in the Pisces sky. That's going to make this video a bit longer than usual. It could be almost 2 hours. That's why I said settle in, grab a wine or a glass of a beer or coffee or tea, but know that you also can jump to your sign. And there may be a lot of ads here. That's default ads by YouTube, but it's also my living. You can just jump to your sign. You don't have to listen to everything that I say. You know what I'm saying. First of all, one more thing I want to mention. Every 10 degrees of a sign, it's called a Decan or Decan, a 10-degree segment. And it roughly corresponds to like the first 10 days after the sign, like the sun moves into Aries, usually around the 19th of March. Add 10 days, right? So that first 10 days after is the first 10 degrees, the first decan, which the sun is moving a degree a day. And so your birthday solar position can tell you a bit about a decan. So if your sun or your moon is in or your rising sign is in the first 10 degrees of the sign of Aries, it's really an important retrograde because Saturn is retrograding from almost 2 degrees, 1 degree and almost 2 degrees minutes backwards in Aries. And so it's impacting you in that first decan. Now, there's also another matter. It's called timekeeping. So I also want you to think about this, and it's very important. Saturn moving in direct motion on May the 24th, 25th, time zone dependent, entered into the sign of Aries. That means that from that third week, May 24th, 25th of May, through to his retrograde turnaround, July 13th, he covered some time territory, some degrees that equals time. So when he goes back over the time that he traveled before. The time is going to be revised. The things he did then are going to be restructured, revisioned, and rethought. Now, I want you to think, therefore, about the Aries story in particular. What has been going on in your life since about the 24th of May, that now you're going to have a little bit of a downtime until November 27th to rethink it and to reknow it and redo it. And in fact, I have such a good topic today. I want to draw from the Animal Spirit Oracle, one card for each of you, as well as the astrology, to help you define this a little bit more deeply and ask yourself what the Animal Spirit Oracle tells you. I'm not going to read the whole card. I'm going to read the guidance section, which gives you 3 lines of guidance because it's kind of cool. It's a deeper, this is a very deep transit. This is it's connected to the planet that makes the matrix happen. He's like the algorithmic backbone of this matrix. He's the one that makes time seem real because we all know that time is an illusion. So in this regard, you got to pay attention to how this heavy hitter is asking us to retrace our steps May 24th. That's when he entered into Aries. We can even retrace further back. And that's because on April the 6th, 2025, at the end of Pisces, he's entered his pre-shadow. In some ways, we're tracking back that far. But in the Aries zone, in particular, we are tracking back into the 24th of May. I want to also share with you something really cool. I love Dark Star Astrology. Her name is Marina. She's one of my absolute favorite astrologers. And I think I can share this with you because I think it's on my screen. So I love going to check what she has to say about some of these topics because she is the expert on the decans. She wrote a great book, which I bought, or a PDF, which I purchased years ago from her. And this is just a website on her darkstarastrology.com, Aries Decan. And she gives you the fixed stars in every decan. Decan 1 is all of Deneb Katos, the tail of the sea monster. Well, we know about sea storms, right? Cyclones and storms at sea. So we might see a bit more of that as Saturn retrogrades, or we might understand more about the causal nature of some storms we're having. Who knows? But you get the star list, which is nice. And then she's all about the energy of to boldly go into something new, that the first decan is like a place of ambition. She talks about people born with this placement and what they're like. I have my I have my moon and I have my Mercury in this Decan, and it makes me laugh, right? Because it so describes me. These natives throw out a great sales pitch due to their gift for oratory. This means they are totally comfortable on stage, taking a leadership role, sitting at the head of the table. They'll campaign forcefully for or against stuff. Yeah, that's me, right? My Mercury and the moon in the first Decan of Aries. But what I wanted to draw your attention to is the tarot card that's connected to this particular first 10 degrees, the Two of Wands. Karmically, I'm reading it. Karmically, this card is about leaving the old for the new and deciding between staying with what you know and leaving for something brand new. And am I actually sharing this or just reading it to you? I am sharing. So you can screenshot that if you want. From Teach Me Tarot, she quotes, "On the outside, it may appear that you have it all and are very successful." Yes, okay, right. But changes have been occurring on the inside for some time. You may have a new plan of action, a burning desire to do something else. You may feel that your fires have been burning low and you're in dire need of a new lease of life, change of scenery or change of faces. Now that is so apt for what I feel about my Mercury, my communicating, my moon in my third house of social media, online, writing, communicating and stuff. So I will say that does resonate because I have placements there. But do you feel the same way? Because Aries is for each of us in a different part of the sky. It's in my third house. Well, instead of Aquarius rising, and it will be in another house for you. And I'll describe what this means as we blend together the Two of Wands, the energy of something old must be let go of. You want a new lease on life. Something fresh and new has been burning away inside you, and you know it's ready to percolate, but you haven't quite seen it manifest. And let's trust Saturn retrograde. Okay. We're going to start with Aries, and we're going to go through the entire thing. As for world astrology on this particular Saturn and Aries, take an Aries nation. Canada is an Aries rising nation. Maybe things in our government are going to backtrack because of this. So certain policies are going to be revised, rethought. Certain initiatives, certain old ways of doing things are going to default, like go back and be redone so something new can happen. And Aries nations, one of the charts for Iran is an Aries nation. So Aries people, Aries nations are highly impacted by this story. But I want to make this video just for you. If you like this kind of personal content too, please hit the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. 75% of my viewers subscribe to the channel, but I'm preaching to a choir. I mean, I like to get some new people in here. Invite me to your channel. I'll be a guest. I'd like to expand outside of my pond, my minnow pond, so to speak. All right, let's start off with Aries. And just before we do Aries, I almost forgot to give you guys this little screenshotable. I made it just for you to have it handy, screenshot it, stick it in your phone or whatever, or I don't know, print it out maybe. Who knows? Saturn retrograde 2025 just shows you the lay of the land, right? Saturn entering the retrograde shadow zone April 6th at 25 Pisces. That means that it was 25 Pisces where he was heading forward, and he will go all the way backwards, into 25 Pisces in his retrograde. So it's all about time. So April the 6th is what some of the ground you're covering, right? But May 24th relative to the Aries sky. So Saturn entered the retrograde zone on April 6th at 25 Pisces going forward. Then he crossed into the sign boundary on May 24th, by the way, into Aries. Then on July 13th, he stations retrograde at 1 Aries and 56 minutes. For all intents and purposes, we can say he stations retrograde at 2 degrees of Aries. My Mercury is at 2 degrees of Aries. Do anybody here have any planets near 2 Aries? I'll go 0 Aries to 4 Aries or 5 Aries. You've really got to feel this a lot relative to the nature of that planet. You'll need to know your astrology to understand that, but look to the houses the planet rules. So I have Mercury in Aries, and he's sitting at 2 degrees, but Mercury rules my Virgo whole sign house, right? That's how I have to look at it. He rules my Gemini whole sign house. So he rules my 5th house of creativity and entrepreneurship, for example, and my 8th house of chunky money. So I would look to that and say, what is going to pull back for more inspection and revision, not just about my 3rd house Aries, but also about things to do with the planet that he's stationing retrograde co-joined with within 3 degrees. Look to the whole sign houses. Do not use modern rulers. Jupiter rules Pisces, not Neptune. You need to go to the ancient tools for this kind of astrology. Mars rules Scorpio, not Pluto. Uranus does not rule Aquarius. It is Saturn. So should the stationary point be connected within 3 degrees? So, in the first, let's go 0 to 6 degrees of Aries. No, 5 degrees, 0 to 5 degrees Aries. Any planet in that placement is going to really be pulled into this retrograde energetically and maybe translate the power of the retrograde to the 2 houses this planet owns. If it's your sun, of course, it's 1 house, the Leo house. And if it's your moon, the moon owns your Cancer house, whole sign house. Please use whole sign houses. I have a tutorial under my description box, how to cast your chart in whole sign houses using free online software. It's a video tutorial for you, and you can use that as well. Now, on Saturn's turnaround direct, November 27th, it's at 25 Pisces. Do you have planets anywhere near 25 Pisces? Let's give it 22 to 29 Pisces. Then you also know that that planet gets pulled into the new forward momentum of long gain, long strategy, perseverance, and discipline. So you look to the 2 whole sign houses that that planet is ruling, or if it's a sun, the Leo house, or the moon that's in that 25, well, let's say 22 to 29 Pisces zone, or 21 to, I'm going to give it the 3 degree orb. Okay. So 22 Pisces to roughly 29 Pisces. Then those planets also will draw the momentum of Saturn's energy into the other houses that they own in your chart. Okay. Saturn leaves the retrograde zone shadow March 2nd, because that's when he finally gets back to almost 2 degrees of Aries. So that's what I really want you to see. This is March 2nd, 2026. What does that mean? Guys, it means that as Saturn is going to go direct in November, right? Finally, at 25 Pisces, then we're traveling forward on ground we've traveled since April the 6th. Is that not crazy? Ash shit. So it's a long story with Saturn. Everything is about the long game, the long term, the slow glacial movement of time. So in this regard, what we're focusing on today for your sign is a very simple story. I want to keep it mostly simple. I really want us to focus on the idea of fresh new beginnings in the first decan of Aries, getting rid of the old, a burning for a new lease on life, something new wants to emerge. And the 2 of Pentacles tarot card is about empire or dominion and new horizons in the kingdom of your life. And the ones are spiritual energy, about the soul and what the soul wants in our lives. We'll focus mainly on that for your sign with a card draw and a delineation. I usually show you a picture of the sky. This is so simple. I'm not sure I need to show you a picture of the sky, but I will start with that anyway. A lot of you want to see what this looks like. So this is the sky. There is one minor asteroid that Saturn is hanging out with called Borasisi, and it's probably about the world events. I wouldn't use it necessarily in a delineation for you guys, but that looks like this little thought cloud here with Neptune, the god of confusion, delusion, also retrograding right next to Saturn, and Saturn himself heading retrograde. And so this kind of trio offsets, gives us a pitch pipe for the beginning of the retrograde, including a sextile to Uranus for surprises or unexpected developments, maybe a bit of a shock and awe. But Borasisi is an interesting story. There was a book by Kurt Vonnegut, okay, the writer who, he did a lot of famous fiction in the day. And this particular asteroid or celestial body 66652, Borasisi, Borasisi, is a central god of a fictional religion that was based on lies. And it was written by him, Kurt Vonnegut. And the software delineation at AstroGold describes this asteroid as perhaps meaning that it's being in a condition of wanting to believe something so strongly you live as though it were truth, looking to find a reason to believe because the alternative is too painful, convincing yourself that the lie you have told yourself isn't a lie, and believing in something so strongly your belief is contagious. So it's kind of like a belief contagion or delusion. And with Saturn and Neptune, there's a sense of here, Neptune retrograde pulls back the tide. I've done my Neptune retrograde video, go watch it. It's where you can see what's under the frothy sea, what's under the ocean. And so where things have been, where people collectively in the world have been believing a lie, they're going to see the truth, because Saturn is going to reveal what is hidden with Neptune beside him, for that sage-like understanding and clarity and sober reality check, okay? For the world. Saturn retrograde for the world is going to offer up a reality check. He's with Asteroid Borasisi, that fictional world where we believe a lie. We're so deeply wanting to believe something to be true, even if we deep down know it isn't true. And Neptune, who's retrograding as well, pulling back the tide on what's underneath the froth of the manipulation, lies, and deceit that we have maybe been buying into, whether collectively from politicians and governments and spin doctors or in our own personal life. We're pulling back the tide there with clarity and sober reality checks to see what's real and true. And we need that. That's what the gift of Saturn retrograde in Aries is offering us when the 24th, the 13th of July to the 27th of November. Now let's go ahead and do your sign. All right, here we have, we're going to move into Aries. We're not going to start with Scorpio. I know those Scorpios probably wouldn't mind being first for a change. We'll start with good old Aries. Okay. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. That's what you right there, and smack dab in the middle of that retrograde. So let's just keep it simple. I know there's a mini trine to Pluto and Uranus, but that's going to complicate it. That's going to be perfect next year, is testing the waters this year. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. What has gotten into you since the entry of Saturn in Aries, when he arrives in the third week of May, and you suddenly have some kind of strategic long game direction that you're heading in with something that you want to work on for the next 3 years, as Saturn is going to be staying in Aries that long? Well, sometimes if it's your Aries rising, it's to do with your body. You know, Saturn represents bones, ligaments, maybe cartilage, like the thing that makes the structure of the body happen. And maybe some of you may be wanting to work on that structure. Maybe you're looking at getting a stronger, osteo bone density, maybe more muscles to support the bones. So physical structural stuff may be focused on here. At the same time, Saturn for the Aries rising is a reality check planet. He's definitely giving you some realism, some discipline, endurance, and steadfast ways to produce a reality that you want to live in as a character in the simulation. And that's going to be about you becoming wiser, more realistic, but also more paced, more knowing the rhythm and the time of the pacing of your timing in accomplishing what you want. Rome was not built in a day, says Saturn, and you agree. So your patience for long game strategies in anything, my marriage, my career, my home life, my children, you've got this attitude. However, watch out for feeling old. Saturn can make us feel older than we really are. Now, your sun, Aries sun, of course, it's about your career. And so you're really focused on the long game strategies for your career matters. And that makes a lot of sense here for sure. You're not going to, be racing like the hare. You're going to take it like structured, step by step, response able to the career that you wish to create. And Saturn rules your 10th house, of course, of your career, of your reputation, and your 11th house of your goals, wishes, and dreams. And now your Saturn sun energy that's being activated from Aries is very importantly disciplined and maybe more strategic than you normally are. And of course, if your moon is in Aries, this is retrograding where your home is. This is your mom, by the way. Sun is dad. Dad has health challenges. Mom has health challenges. Saturn's going over moon or sun. But it's also your home. It's where you live. And maybe home can have Saturnian elements, like might be that you're building something in the home. You're building a new home. I'm building a new home. I have my moon in Aries. I moved to a new home and I had to buy all the furniture. It was unfurnished. My last place was a furnished rental. You might be also finding yourself more wanting solitude at home. Saturn moon can mean I like to be alone in my home. I like my contemplative downtime. So these are new stories that you begin to experience as of May the 24th. Now, Saturn is pulling back the tide and he's asking for a reassessment because you know that something has to be let go of, something has to give. And you don't know that you're ready to do it yet, but Saturn is here to help you because he will give you the perfect timing. And he'll say, okay, if you hold on too long, right, to something like you're white knuckling it like this, and your palm is closed, you can't open your palm to receive. In this regard, I'm going to say that trust the timing of what is asked of you to let go of Aries for your career, for your Aries sun, for your moon around your home and the way you live in your home, and your emotions too. Let go of toxic negative emotions, especially fear. Saturn moon can bring you into anxiety and fear that's not even rational, and it's time to release that as well. But for you rising signs, choose, pick and choose. You release the relationship, the career, the creative projects. It impacts your decision-making power over the entire chart. This is the oracle deck we're going to use today. I will note that with Pluto in your 11th house, powerful, wealthy people, are the influence of those people or the support of those people may be coming into your life as Saturn retrogrades and Pluto retrogrades, but you've known them before. They're somehow connected to your past. And so look for the energy through to November 27th in the retrograde of you coming into contact with people that you may have encountered May 24th until July 13th, that are going to be even more influential and deepening the connections with them. So think of new friends, allies, benefactors, or people that wish to support you who may have emerged in your life, especially to support you in getting you up and running in your career gains, your long-term dreams and goals in your life. Those kinds of people are back again. In other words, you met them perhaps already after May 24th. And now they return to deepen the connection with you in some way. All righty. So don't believe the lies you tell yourself, Borasisi, right? Don't delude yourself. Don't believe the lies you tell yourself about your home, your career, your emotions, or anything about your reality. Okay. Now we're going to pull a card for you. I probably will stop the share so you can see the card. This is an animal spirit message for you, Aries. Let's take a look and see what we get. I'm recording this on Sunday, July 13th. The eagle. Ooh, you want to soar like an eagle. Like I have a desire for eagle energy myself. Let's take a look at the simple delineation. I'm not reading the whole thing. That would be an extremely long video, wouldn't you imagine? But eagle is an air animal, as you can imagine. And because this particular book, Animal Spirit Oracle by Kim Krans, is strangely not ordered in any way other than you just have to flip. It takes a while, so hang in there. Hummingbird, bee. I think she would probably put the eagle near the end. Okay. Ready? Basically, it's all-pervading power, truth seeker, transforms karma. So it's, emanating the light of the sun, physically and spiritually strong, mastery of the elements of fire and air. And it says you can be thrown into your karmic fire for the sake of transformation. And the eagle can push us to be our best and brightest selves. And it stops at nothing to see us shine. Grasp the sun in your talons and hold on for the ride. You are stronger than you think, eagle child. So if you're imbalanced during this retrograde cycle, like you're not losing your grip on reality here, then between approximately July 13th and November 27th, you should, when in balance, be bright and radiant and challenges. It says challenges. And when you're out of balance, you are controlling. Well, Saturn loves to control, but there is no control. Jesus, take the wheel. And to bring yourself into balance, step into the unknown. Well, we know that from the Two of Wands and the Tarot for this Decan, we do want to have a new horizon, and we need to step into the unknown in order to do that. And of course, Saturn is the boundary between one thing and the other. So step across the boundary into the new, into the unknown. That's what I have for Aries, fellow Aries. Good luck with that. I'll see you on the other side of the retrograde, November 27th. Now we shall go into the land of Taurus. I hope you guys like this approach. I'm trying to keep a little bit less of the world astrology, make it shorter. And I know some of you love world astrology, but by the way, the shorter my world astrology section is, the better my videos do, and the more subscribers I get. There's an astrologer called Astrology with Rux. I do like her, but she just flames forward like, 6,000, 8,000 subscribers a month, and she does not talk about world events. So I think I might get algorithmic suppression with that stuff. So I might indeed make this channel Simple Astrology again and start a new subsection for that. Now we go to July the 14th. We are 13th, 14th to November 27th for Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. So the best I can tell you about your 12th house is its deep, subtle, psychological, and spiritual energy. You often have a hard time accessing it unless you make a direct effort, such as meditation, trance states, shamanic journeys, hypnosis, paying attention to your nocturnal dreams. It's really hard to find that space in our modern society. We're so distracted to go into our inner ashram, to tune into the inner voice of God or goddess. And this is what that 12th house is for. And so a lot of people miss the beauty of this house. So it's not just about isolation. It's being isolated so the solitude can bring solace and the solitude can bring wisdom. So yes, we can be isolated in a prison, isolated in a hospital. Those are places of isolation. And here we can also be our own worst enemy, mostly because we pay no attention to this house. We have unconscious drives for addictions. We have self-sabotaging patterns from childhood. We have karmic vows that we took that we no longer want to keep, especially the vow of poverty. So there's all kinds of stuff that no one looks at in here. This is really the human potential movement house, if you ask me. And in Vedic astrology, it's full liberation from the dream. It's Buddhahood, Shunyata, Samadhi, Nirvana, take your pick. It's getting out of the matrix. So that said, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. This is not a worldly success house usually. It's like, where is this deep spiritual impulse coming in? How did you want to surrender to a divine truth or go with a more deep spiritual knowing, starting back when, for the first time in 30 years, Saturn entered your Aries zone of the sky with Neptune, making it first in a lifetime. You know what I mean? So this Aries moment happened on the 24th of May. Neptune was already there. That's an enlightenment planet. It's like the god of boundaries is with the god of dissolving. Something in you deep down inside wants to surrender, let go, and release. And so for some of you, you know what it is. It is the weed, the vape, the nicotine, the wine, the weed, whatever your thing is. What is that thing that you're doing that you know you shouldn't be doing? For a lot of Tauruses, this will be on your radar during the retrograde. So Saturn going backwards here is going to deepen your spiritual impulse. It's going to ask you to look more clearly at what solitude has, how solitude can have value for you. It may ask you to find a new horizon beyond the thing that is old and outworn that you know you need to let go of, because we undo ourselves. We fall away from ourselves here. Those are the things that you're likely looking to release and let go of and open up to something a little bit more fortuitous, something that has less self-induced straitjacket going on here. Borasisi, what lies do you tell yourself? I'm not an alcoholic. I only drink with friends, but then you never don't go out with friends every night. You know that trick? When people are alcoholics, they basically will say, I only drink with friends, but then they go out every single night to drink with friends. I mean, where are you deluding yourself? Where is this illusion? And I can speak to that from my own experience with habits around, that I defend myself. I lie to myself. So there's that. You might want to pay attention to that. Technically, Saturn can represent an elder in a hospital or an elder in an incarceration place or a jail sentence for somebody, but we want to go inward. Yes, maybe Uncle Joe is going to jail or great grandpa's, John is in the hospital. But then what's the wisdom and the sagacity and the knowing that you're trying to acquire here during this time? So, things that began to occur for self-introspection and truth and wisdom are now between the 24th of May and July 13th are now ready to be really looked at more clearly, revision, revise, rethink, and get a deeper knowing about what you really need to do. For example, say you decide to quit nicotine and you gave it a try on May the 24th and it didn't go so well. Well, Saturn's retrograding to kind of anchor something in over the time that you were planning to try a nicotine patch and it didn't work, whatever. I'm just giving you examples. Okay. And so, yeah, maybe a false start, or you didn't have the reality check you needed, that it was not so simple. May 24th to July 13th. Now you're going back and you're reassessing it. Saturn rules advisors, coaches, guides, mentors, and therapists for you in your 9th house and career success. By kind of going inward, your career success can increase, and you could benefit from a therapist, guide, mentor, coach, advisor to support you in this retrograde cycle. So look for that as well. Now, one more thing about it is with Uranus in the second house, you could have some breakthroughs and maybe very illuminating. Uranus and Venus in the house of what you ingest through your nose and mouth, or, so dietary habits included. And Uranus is break free, breakthrough. This is not like you have to plod along on some hard story, Alcoholics Anonymous, nicotine patch, forever. There's just something that really could break through, like a sudden illumination, a real hardcore change of direction. Now, money is here too. Breakthroughs in your finances and career because you went inward, you inspected yourself, you looked at what you really wanted, who you are in the story of anxiety or fear or self-undoing. And now you've got this incredible, Uranus, Neptune breakthrough energy, career, money energies, and breakthroughs and breakfrees are coming in the sky as well. So that's what I have for you on the astrology front. But why don't we pull out a card for you out of the Animal Spirit Oracle? Aries got the eagle. Yes, yes, yes. Don't forget, you're going to be dealing with Saturn in that introspective solitude, it's part of the story. Actually, I always tell clients, when Saturn goes to your 12th house, you become the hermit. You may not want to be a hermit. Like when people are looking for their spouse or they're dating, looking for their true soulmate, I'm like, unless you're ready for a 12th house partner, that could be true for you. I'll look at your chart, kind of thing. Then most people don't find their true person here. The 12th house is an ending house. It's also connected to the Hangman in the Tarot, which is the illumination of enlightenment. But it's all about closing out the old and finishing up unfinished business before you start a new cycle. And so many times things we try to start, like a new relationship in a 12th house energy, is for a season and a reason and a time. So you're gonna learn to love alone, okay? You're gonna learn to love alone. And I don't mind alone. I'm very much of a autistic spectrum. Alone is good for me. I'm pulling your card, but alone will be good for you, Taurus. It's time to be alone in the next 3 years. But this is your first testing of that premise. You have the gazelle. Isn't that beautiful? The gazelle. What a gorgeous African animal. I believe it's African. So obviously I think right away of something loping across the savannah. You know what I mean? So like it's a graceful, gentle creature of some sort. But let's see what the Animal Oracle says about gazelle. It has an upright triangle. So she's lumped it into like animals. Gazelle. Hang in there. Panther. No, we want the gazelle. Yes, yes, yes. I know I could pause the recording, but I ain't going to do it. I'm just going to, unfortunately, Kim Kranz, everyone who has your deck and loves it complains about having to find the card. And I've had this card from a client since 2017. I was teaching classes and stuff. Kimberly, thank you, Kimberly, for this beautiful deck, a gift. A gazelle, heightened awareness and ability, vulnerable. The gazelle represents supreme grace. Now, this is how you're responding to the retrograde. This is where your gifts can go. This is what you can get from it. Don't forget the time frame. Again, the retrograde is July 13th to November 27th, recapitulating storylines that you went through May the 24th to July 13th. The gazelle represents supreme grace with every move, this awe-inspiring beauty amidst sophistication, elegance. You can be hyper aware of your surroundings. So be careful for hypervigilance. So you might not enjoy the beauty around you. Don't worry about all the predators out there in the world. When this card appears, it's time to get back to the present moment. Sit down, find your breath, acknowledge the bounty that surrounds you. Let it nourish your gentle spirit. It's about being in the present moment, which is what spiritual be here now, Eckhart Tolle. It's what spiritual liberation is. It's you're not worrying about the past, worrying about the future. You are just in this moment. It is just happening, as my partner James says. When you're in balance with the gazelle energy, you are graceful, perceptive, and artistic. So maybe lean into some creativity, some art during this retrograde, to put your mind at ease. Start knitting, start painting, start drawing, start sketching, start poet writing, whatever. Find the artist in you during this journey. When you're out of balance, you have food allergies, insomnia, and a racing mind. Yes, be in the moment, guys. Bring yourself into balance. You need to do yin yoga, the very long poses, gentle, soft yoga, cozy home. and good food. Yes, get your mac and cheese going in your cozy isolation chamber called your home. All right, that's what we have for Taurus. Let's move on to the next sign in the astrological sky. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, Gemini, here we have Saturn, not here since for 30 years, guys. And go watch my Saturn and Aries video about that. But now it's the retrograde that we're deeply focused on. And what I want you to know is that this is the place of your long range goals, dreams, and wishes. And it's a house that he naturally rules in an Aries rising chart. So there's a lot of energy Saturn's putting into helping you refine your long game strategies, goals, and dreams here, your wishes and what you want to attain in life. So there's a sense then that you might want to go back and rethink about some stories that you were engaging in particular, okay, between the 24th of May and July 13th, as Saturn was direct in the early 2 degrees of Aries. Did you have some visions, some goals and plans that you were trying to give structure and form to? And it's not that you need to discard them at all. You might have been working hard to create a form or a structure, but the wisdom and sagacity when Saturn retrogrades is which ones to keep. And Saturn will be like very constraining of the ones that aren't for you. Time to take them off the table because you have that new horizon line that you want something bold and fresh, a new lease on this part of your chart, a new lease on the dreams and goals of your life. This is also the gains house. This is what you have when you make money from the career. It comes through the 11th. When you get famous from the career, it comes from the 11th. When you get, rewards and promotions, it comes through the 11th. The gains of the work of the 10th. Second from the 10th, and therefore many of you may be re-inspecting the gains. Saturn can be kind of like a Debbie Downer. He may make you feel like getting the money is too hard. The work is too hard. Is it worth it? As they say often, that expression, is the juice worth the squeeze? And Saturn is asking you, is the juice worth the squeeze for all these career accolades and gains and perks that you seem to be able to produce? Now, as he goes retrograde, he's looking in deeper inwardly at what is really most likely to be of value. And what lies do you tell yourself about that, Borasisi? What belief fictions have you confabulated to tell yourself that it's worth it? Neptune is also rolling back the tide so you can clearly see what's doable in the career gains house and what long range goals and dreams are best for you. Friends belong to this house, especially, with Neptune there, friends that aren't your friends, you reveal they're not really your people as Neptune, Saturn retrograde. Friends with alcohol addiction and substance problems or mental health challenges, you're like, ugh, I'm going to pull back on that friendship, especially friendships you might have began to explore the 24th of May until July 13th. You may be pulling back away from those connections. I can think of one for me. I have a progressed Gemini sun. So there's a need to be more, what is the word, sage-like and wise about who you spend your time with, especially in social networks, schmoozing, social groups, etc. Now let's also bring in the idea of Uranus. What surprises and breakthroughs do you personally experience? Like aha, illumination, deep insights, lightning strikes, epiphanies can come during this retrograde. And you're going to be able to use those epiphanies because in Gemini, they're going to be for your Gemini sun career, Gemini home, your moon, your home and home life, and Gemini rising, any part of your life you wish to use these epiphanies for. But the epiphanies are about the work, the career, the long range goals and dreams, and the friends you wish to keep or not keep. Saturn is that old and golden thing, Anyway, there's a song about friends and old and new. That's kind of Saturn. He's going to definitely, good housekeeping, seal of approval. You'll keep the ones that are worth it. Now, the other thing to notice is that Pluto's engaged as well. And then Pluto says, oh dear, what does Pluto say? He's like, power up on your dharma, get in alignment with your purpose, really feel into the deeper meaning of life. If you're not here for a deep meaning right now, meaning is mattering to you. You don't do meaningless in your goals, dreams, and wishes. Pluto is like power up on meaning. And so that's going to be something you're assessing too. Is it meaningful? I always say, I do not want to be on my tombstone. She was a great astrological weather girl, with my progressed Gemini career / sun. Now we're going to go ahead and draw a card for you, but I do know that you could also find friends from the past coming back. A Saturn retrograde with Neptune here will bring allies, benefactors, and friends from the past, or an elder sibling you've been out of touch with, may come back into the story. And you may, especially if those friends are you've had for a long time. Saturn is like the friends I've had forever, not just friends you made since May 24th. So friends from a long, long time ago, or many years of friendship that you have been out of touch with, can return. The day that Saturn station retrograde, I kid you frigging not, I heard from my friend Keith that I've known since 2004. He lives in California. He was a boyfriend for a couple of years, and I was at his wedding, love his wife, etc. And we're in a text exchange that day. You know what I mean? So friends from the past resurfacing, friends that you've had for many years. That's just a theme that you can expect July 13th to November 27th. What does the Animal Oracle deck say about you being able to use this energy in order to harness the retrograde sagacity of Saturn? You don't always get what you want, right? You get what Saturn's wisdom tells you, you need. And what new horizons are you ready to explore as you release the anxiety and fear about letting go of the outworn, old, and unnecessary? Let's get a card for our Gemini folk. The sea serpent. Whoa. Now that's funny because Saturn was traveling through the sign of Pisces for 3 years, right? So March of 23 until like he's finishing up on the retrograde. So by next February, none of that. So that's an interesting thing to note as well, because the Pisces part of the Gemini sky may be a little bit something I'll have to talk about as well. Do I need to talk about it, or do I think I need to talk about it? You know what I mean? I'm going to leave it. But I mean, the video can get too complicated if I'm covering all aspects of it all, including the Pisces story. That's a lot of work. But Pisces is your 10th house of career. And you got the North Node transiting there for expansion of worldly success, Geminis, through to next year. So you're going to be by, the end of 2020, by mid 26, when the nodes are leaving Pisces, the North Node, you're going to have achieved a great deal of ambition and success in your career and reputation. And so Saturn was there and does go back there, of course, during this retrograde cycle. It's in the screenshot I gave you. I can't remember the exact date he crosses the sign boundary into Pisces again. But know that Pisces story, he'll be in that Pisces story through till February after he crosses the sign boundary. So go back and watch the intro for the dates, because you may also be re-inspecting a bit of your career as well. But I'm really focused on the Aries story because it's simple. Sea serpent. Let's find sea serpent. It is, it's not even, it's a non-animal. You see, there's a special category for the spiritual beings that are like unicorns and shit like that. So you got a sea serpent, and that is not an animal. That is a spiritual thing. All right, here's what's going on for you guys during the retrograde. And the retrograde is opening up doors, right? It's going to give you deep knowing, Sufi heart knowing of what is true and what's wise for you in terms of your career and its gains. So Saturn is also, sage-like, and he's retrograding, and he's very stern energy. In Aries, he's very bossy. So I'm going to actually say, oh my goodness gracious, you might feel very much like you're going to have to deal with emotions when all Saturn wants to do is pretend he's Spock. But let's talk about the sea serpent. So July the 13th and November 27th, here's some good advice. Healing emotional wounds and expressing desires. The sea serpent represents that's interesting. Your 11th house of good spirit is a Kama house, a desire. What do you truly desire? The sea serpent represents the energy of expression, whether it's emotions, creativity, sensuality, or desire. The sea serpent helps us move and direct our energy into a healthy current. When the essence of this card is in balance, we express ourselves creatively and sexually without fear or without shame. We know that what we desire most. Our heart is at ease and our relationships are meaningful. There's the Dharma of Pluto in your Dharma house. Our relationships are meaningful and enduring. We lose the grip of self-judgment and we let the cool waters of forgiveness in to heal our wounds. When the energy of the sea serpent is not yet activated, our emotions and creativity are left in the muddy waters, the areas of our life the current of expression stagnates in some areas of our life, and in other places it floods. It's important to remember, no matter what the waters of our emotional life look like, the sea serpent loves us just the same. I used to say to my daughter, I love you when you're happy. I love you when you're mad. I love you when you're angry. I love you when you're sad. When she was a little kid, like under the age of 5. And that's that vibe there. Love yourself no matter what you're feeling. Like a mother, she wraps herself around us in a gesture of protection and supports us as we learn to express our true nature. And the sea serpent is the second chakra in the body system. And this is located deep in the pelvic bowl. It's known as the center of creativity, of course, procreativity and desire, and is associated with the water element. This translates as Svadhisthana translates as in her own abode, indicating this chakra is the home of the divine mother or of Kundalini herself. Wow. There you go. Let's get some Kundalini flying through the storyline. Next, we're talking about the next sign. I am recording. I had a terrible feeling I'd paused it for like a chocolate break or something. Someone asked me if my chocolate break is code for weed. I don't do weed, guys. I really don't like it. It makes me, I have weed hangovers and migraines sometimes from the weed. Okay, it's not a beer. That's a dandelion tonic. Botanical. All right, so let's move into our next sign, which is you, beautiful Cancer crabs. And you're going to go with this as a career matter. Saturn, like 30 years ago, 29 and a half years ago, was in your Aries sky and is back again. And this is the retrograde part of the story, asking you to inspect what hardcore realistic structures and long game strategies you might have been contemplating in your career and reputation. And this began to be true as he entered Aries May the 24th to July 13th. And now with the retrogradation, he's revising, reassessing, rethinking this to give you the inner knowing about what you want. Now, Saturn up here, and he'll be here for 3 years, makes you work hard, but it allows you to have mastery and authority and achievement and success, especially if you're over the age of 44 in the career space. However, a lot of times people kind of climax here. They get to the top of the mountain and they're done with their career. So in the next 3 years, some of you may move away from what you've been doing in the last few years and move into something new, especially the last 14 years. So there's something about maybe changing your career strategy entirely, or even the last 7 years. What did you start doing in 2018, 7 years ago, that you're ready to either take further in a new direction or stop and quit and try something new? Because Saturn, as I said, from the Decan itself is asking you to inspect the further horizons of something bold and boldly go where you've not gone before, something fresh in your ambition, and letting go of the old outworn stuff. You want a new lease on life here in your career. And sometimes it takes a lot more daring and courage that you normally are capable of, but you're a cardinal sign and you don't mind making changes. Cardinal signs do have a bit of initiative to them. This is a story as well with Neptune retrograding beside Saturn, of unfolding some of the stuff that you couldn't see before, because there was a bit of a fog or an illusion or delusion about what you could achieve in the long game of the next 3 years in your career. And now you're going to pull that back and you're going to see much more clearly what you're actually capable of doing here. You're retired. Okay. You're a student, your career is to be a student. You're retired. What do you do in retirement that you've considered to be a moniker or a herald of success? What kind of ambitions do you have? Is it your paintings? Is it your art? Is it your pottery? Is it your, what are you doing? You still live, guys. Retired people live. Career, reputation, visible actions in the world, social standing. Okay, revise, rethink, reset. And what else is happening? Borasisi. So of course, don't tell yourself lies, right? Like, I can do this, I can do that. And you really can't, or maybe don't want to. So Saturn is going to give you the sagacity of inner knowing and deep understanding of what you truly want. He is hooked up to Uranus for some deep, profound breakthroughs in dreams, meditations, trance states. past life memories or some breakthroughs that are connecting you to financial gains from distant shores and foreign lands, especially those of you who work in the online space. And Pluto adds to this story something to do with really plowing through some deep death and rebirth transformation energy in the house of the deepest karma, 8th house, but also in a place where we receive money from others that we don't earn that money. And so they're saying, what are you doing with that Pluto, right? What is really happening with that Pluto there? Saturn rules your marriage house. So there could be some real turning points in your marriage here connected to wealth and the money shared with a spouse, for example, right? And Saturn also rules the 8th house of chunky money, which is, some real transformation around shared resources with a spouse, or some kind of transformation through some kind of chunk of money that's headed your way in the retrograde cycle. And the retrograde cycle, again, May 24th. July 13th to November 27th, you're going back over ground that you covered, as I mentioned in the intro, beginning on May 24th through to July the 10th. Now, one more thing about this is that you are a lunar being. And during this onset of the retrograde, the moon is with the North Node in Pisces. And Saturn will eventually get back to Pisces in the fall as well for a little dip backwards until February. But there's something about the moon flowing to Jupiter exalted and the North Node that tells me to tell you not to worry. Like, even if there is some money coming your way through an inheritance or someone in a hospital setting or a surprise around money, the things going on here with the North Node exalted Jupiter in your sign are very beautiful and rare, not seen since the 1800s. Things are flowing in your favor. Everything is indeed working, conspiring for good towards your greatest success, alignment with Dharma and purpose. So you are very divinely protected by Lord Jupiter as well. But the reason I bring that up, because sometimes Saturn retrograde means quitting a job. You went into some kind of a place of employment, you changed your mind. And that's okay to do that. Or you said yes to something in the workspace, you might want to say no. And work opportunities from the past, bosses, colleagues from the past, especially older ones, or jobs ages ago, years ago, those come back to you during this retrograde. You might hear from former employers or colleagues, and they're saying, hey, you want to come back and work here? We would love to have you. Might surprise you, right? My Cancer rising sister is a retired nurse. I don't know if she could just go back and help out, for example, or she has to recertify, but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Okay, so let's pick a card for you guys. Oh, my shoulder. I think I need to go to a physio. All right. It's almost better, but not quite. So Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising, what does this say for you, right? Let's take a look at that. Hope I'm going to get this done before I'm meeting a friend to go to a matinee today. The starfish. Woo, maybe be a star. Let's see what it says for you. This is what you're going to do during the retrograde. This is the best advice this guy has for you through the tarot as well, through the oracle deck. Okay, so July 13th to November 27th. Is it be a star? Or what does a starfish mean? What do you guys think it means? Let's find it in this very slow process of discovery. Now, it's funny because the 10th house is where fame happens or where recognition can occur, because we're at the top of the sky and people see us there. So it could be that you could level up a bit during the retrograde. Beautiful, alluring, or superficial and shallow. Beautiful, alluring, or superficial or shallow. The starfish is a natural, exquisite beauty, mesmerizing all. Being around someone with starfish energy is a thrill, like you've been put under a spell of divinity itself. The problem is these creatures have been reliant on how they look and what other people think of them. This is your public reputation and where you're most visible. And Saturn is the aging elder. So please don't go ahead and do one of these, right? Like, if that's what is worrying you, just rethink it. I'm 63 and I haven't done anything. Okay. I guess I have good lighting and a semi-good filter, but it's literally not worth doing something dramatic here. Just saying, because it's about beauty as well and celebrity and being seen and yeah. So sometimes you get so caught up on other people's opinion of you or approval of you, in essence, that you are forgotten your deeper life's calling. So if this card appears, you are to ask yourself, am I being swayed by outward appearances? What dreams have I put aside to please others? What dreams have I put aside to please others? Retrograde Saturn will help you figure this out. When you're in balance, you're uplifting, you're artistic, and you're expressive. And when you are out of balance, you are gossiping and you feel empty. Gossip belongs to the 10th house. And when you're in balance, you have positive friends in your life. So that's my guidance for you, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising folk. Now let's go ahead and do the next sign. I think I'm going to need to take a food break halfway through this. I've just been on, I guess I'm fasting, but I didn't mean to. Moving on to Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. It's the story of Saturn retrograding in your 9th house of God and Dharma and good luck and good things happening. But because it's a deeply spiritual house connected to religion, spiritual traditions and beliefs, as well as meaning and purpose, starting on the 24th of May through until now, July 13th, you may have gone into an investigation around new structures and forms for spiritual containment belief. This is the house of a father figure, some hardships for a father figure, maybe. Or this is also book publishing. It can be connected to academic environments like colleges and campuses. And so there's Saturn, work hard, get structured, get disciplined, put in the work, persevere. And then he's retrograde. Go, oh, wait a minute. Time to get a deeper knowing. Get time to go inward, trying to reassess and revise and rethink this. Go in and see what the sagacity is for. It's got a surprise in the 11th house of your long range goals, dreams, and wishes. So you may be ready to revise those in ways that you didn't imagine possible, in ways that surprise your very own self. And you may also have some surprises coming through from friends who are foreigners or in foreign places. That's another opportunity with a surprise from a friend connected to travel. If you travel to distant shores, far off foreign lands in Saturn's retrograde, you have been there before. Okay, it's going to be a place you've gone before. It's not entirely new. Neptune would suggest where there's water, and Aries where there's heat or volcanoes, maybe. So let's go ahead and look at Pluto. Pluto's talking to Saturn as he turns retrograde, and he says, and by the way, if you drank the Kool-Aid, Neptune retrograde with Saturn says you saw through the illusion of that situation, that teacher, that teaching, that spiritual belief, that religion, and you're pulling back. You don't believe the lies anymore. Don't believe the lies that the religion is telling you, or the cult is telling you, or that the spiritual tradition is informing you of. As Pluto is here in your 7th house, there's a lot of energy that focalizes you also on transformation and rebirth in alignment with purpose and how you reach your audience, marketplace, and clients, and or relate to your significant other. Mostly, I think because you are basically dealing right now with this Mercury placement. Mercury's been here for 2 months. I mean, a ridiculously long time, mid-June till sometime in September. You're really thinking about things in your own life. You're really revising. He will be retrograde on July 17th. I think it's July 17th, whatever the date is. You're really in a deep revision, rethinking about what you want in life anyway. Okay. So this retrograde Saturn is just flowing to that Mercury in the beginning of the story through to September and helping you rethink your desires and purpose, and under the umbrella of, is it meaningful? Is it in alignment with purpose? Is it dharmic? Do I feel like, yeah, if I go in this direction, it's really right for me. I want to publish that book, apply for that university or college, take that foreign trip, go on that journey, maybe a journey or surprise or something connected to friends, allies, benefactors, and a sibling one older. And you're thinking, rethinking, and revising what you really want here. And by the way, Saturn does rule that marriage house, but also the 6th house of work and livelihood. My Leo sun's sister works for me. I'm trying to imagine she's probably rethinking that and wants me to go hire somebody in the Philippines, So let's stop the share. And let's talk about you. Let's bring out the animal spirit deck. If I use family members as examples, it doesn't discount what you have for you. It's the same story. I'm just saying, here's an example. Had someone told me about using my Scorpio sun as an example of something that was going on for Scorpios, saying I just did a reading for my son. No, I didn't. I did a reading for Scorpio. And here's an example. So please, people, I don't know what's wrong with people sometimes. It's crazy. It's not like I sat there and told you everything about my kid. Here we have the deck. I'm going to fan and pull for you. What do you need to do in this retrograde? What is the best guidance you could have for July 13th to November 24th? It's the cheetah. There's a fast-moving critter. The cheetah. Let's take a look. It's obviously a animal, like a land animal, and it's certainly going to be here. You are going through a retrograde in the house of spiritual belief and meaning and purpose, as well as all the other things I talked about, book publishing and schools and stuff, and mentors and guides. Now, as Cheetah is in the play for the next few months, the Oracle tells you to do the following. This is solar force, action, achievement, and it's very masculine energy. Now, I'm not going to say you should bust all out to achieve all that much here. It is the ruler, Saturn, of your work house. So you can have achievement in work and public audience, etc. But don't forget, Saturn retrograde has to go forward again. So it's rethink what you want to achieve and know that when you go for it after November 27th to February 13th of next year, you're on your A game. Okay. The cheetah is the epitome of the solar forces at work. The sun does not shine onto the cheetah. It shines from inside this great creature and expands outward to brighten the universe. Well, Leo, you are solar ruled, right? The sun is the ruler of Leo. The energy within a cheetah personality is palpable to others. They naturally attract an audience, what Leo doesn't. Leo, sun, moon, and rising, on your beautiful big hair for the risings, you attract people. You have a radiant light of courage from your heart. You often make easy celebrities and leaders. All right, attract an audience to bear witness to your remarkable achievements. Purpose and passion, the Dharma house, are the best fuel for a cheetah's forward momentum. Yes, it's a Dharma house. Saturn's retrograding in the house of purpose. You want to be passionate about purpose. It's fuel for forward momentum. So if you're lacking in those areas, reconnect to why before you start running. That's Saturn. What's your why? I should have started with that. I buried the lead. Saturn in a Dharma house asked you, what's your why? When in balance, you achieve anything and with boundless energy. When you're out of balance, you're impatient and you are competitive. And to bring yourself into balance, you need to reconnect to purpose. You can't make this stuff up, guys. It's the Dharma house of purpose. You need to reconnect to purpose. Leos, reconnect to purpose and passion. I love that for you. I'm going to pause the recording, get a little nibble, and be right back. All right, let's get on to the next sign, shall we? And we were moving our little board forward, and here we have the next sign. Oh, well, we would get there if it would actually work. What's going on with my software? There we go. Starting with Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Okay, come on, guys. 30 years ago, you had 3 years of Saturn transiting your Aries house. He arrived back again. Yay, Saturn, for another about 3 years. And he arrived here into the sky on May 24th. That's your 8th house of chunky money. It's inheritances. It's money you share with a spouse. It's investment monies in a stock. It's sometimes it's money you get because you have royalty income, residual income. You don't actually kind of get a paycheck vibe going. You know, here comes a chunk, sign-on bonus, commission money, tax rebate, government handout. Okay. Sometimes a sale of a property, a chunk of money lands in your lap, right? Sometimes. I mean, there's different ways to look at that. Normally, when you're selling a property, there's another way to look at it too, but let's get going and talk about this. One thing about this chunky money house is that you haven't had Saturn here at all for 30 years, right? So you got to go back 29 and a half years ago, add 3 years. I can't do the math right now. My brain is not working, but you get the idea. And this is a place where you also have a lot of karma, and Saturn is the Lord of time and karma. So very karmatic stories unfold in your life. But Saturn here is going to put you into more of a serious mode about saving money, investing money. My daughter is a Virgo rising. She started putting money away in a forced savings plan, investing it in, investment structures with some support from her guy. So I can see that as of May 24th, my 20-something-year-old daughter began to think of money more seriously and the long game, your retirement plans, often structures like new forms, an RRSP, an RSVP, a tax savings fund, whatever plans and structure for your money, you could give it new form. You could incorporate under this transit even. So Saturn is giving forms and structures to your money. He just started telling you how to do that. And now you have to rethink and revise it. So whatever you began to apply towards this on May the 24th, on July 13th to November 27th, Saturn is revise, rethink, redo, rescind, revoke, Now, anything that you did do that like you wanted to get some contraction on might have to be really looked at with a sort of expert authority energy, like the accountant or whatever. Some things that you're ready to, finalize here might need some more introspection or inspection. So just don't take it like, oh my God, it didn't work the way I wanted right away. No, just allow for Saturn to show you what's the wisest course of action here. Like I have a Virgo client looking at prenup energy, right? Those prenup papers have been in her hands, I think, since the third week of May. Maybe that's not the best strategy, the way it's all been laid out. Maybe it needs a revision in the strategies that's more wise and more enduring and more realistic, like a reality check, right? So you're getting that deep energy, but Saturn, it can also bring you inheritance money here through some elder in the family system. I mean, because he is the old person. So an old person being willing to pass money on, maybe a living trust, right? It doesn't mean they have to pass away, but money from an elder could show up in your life at this time, or because it's retrograde, money from the past from an elder that has been missing or withheld may return to you at this time as well. With Saturn up here in a sextile to Uranus, there's some surprising developments that are quite lucky. Venus is there in the career space connected to this kind of money. Saturn has a retrograde, so it could be like sign-on bonuses, severance packages, matters to do with commission money from the past, from your career. Like, oh my God, the accountant cut a check for less money than you were supposed to get. The human resources department forgot to add the bonus on that. And now you're going to get money owed to you from the career path. It surprises you. That's an example, right? More money coming than you expected. Pluto is in your sixth house. This is where you go to work every day. This is your job. This is your daily work routines and habits. You're powering up, and some of you could get quite wealthy, but you're also transforming and rebirthing what it is you think is worthy of you being in a work situation at all. And there are going to be a lot of changes there in the next, 18 years, but you could get quite wealthy over the next 18 years as well with this Pluto transit through the sixth house. And, having this whole thing happening here is like a surprise financially and end of story, but usually connected to work and career, an unexpected opportunity that lights up your sky. You can pay off your entire credit card. You can pay off your the debts you accrued, especially any debts and loans you accrued or overspending debts you might have accrued accidentally between the 24th of May to July 13th. I think the retrograde could have you pull back the debts and to like erase them, so to speak, but in a sudden, shocking, or surprising way. That's a possibility. Again, we could talk about chunks of money. Who knows where they're going to come from? There's always a surprise when Uranus is involved. So one more thing to say about this is that you have a long story going on with Mars transiting Virgo for 6 weeks. And you'll see that, Mars is still there with the South Node. There's a deep need to let go, release, and surrender some part of your life. For you Virgos, it's about your career, Virgo sun. For your Virgo moon, about your home and emotions. And Virgo rising, anything in your life, or especially around health and body, time to release, surrender, let go, and make the actions and decisions to do so. And just as a possibility with the square to Uranus, there could be letting go of a particular livelihood, job, or career situation. But it looks like you're getting chunky money. Like you win the lottery, you don't need your job, right? So who knows what this is? In fact, Saturn does rule the house of winning money. The lottery wins through games of chance, speculation, and gambling, your fifth house. So you could come into some lucky financial breaks through work or winning money here as well. Now, I'm sure you're all happy to hear that. That's not going to be true for everybody. This is general bell curve astrology, not a natal chart reading. A lot of people are born with placements that allow for lottery wins. Like I've seen that with people with Uranus in the 11th house. Yeah. So it depends on your natal, or Jupiter in the 11th house sometimes. Okay, let's go ahead. We're asking for you for some guidance. Oh no, I didn't charge my laptop. Give me a sec. Oh, there's my YouTube plaque behind me. I finally unpacked it and I decided to stick it against my blue lamp. And now in my new apartment that I moved into. Okay, so yes, Lori got her 100,000 way back when in February. Okay, and I should be growing faster, yeah? So February, so I'm 6 months in and I'm, coming up to 20,000. Help me like, subscribe, and help me grow, please. Thank you. All right. So we're drawing a card for you guys. And this is all about Virgo, how you can deal with this retrograde. You've got time to deal with it, right? We've got July 13th to November 27th, the retrograde through the sky. Yes, it's in Aries. It also goes back to Pisces. That doesn't matter. We're talking about mostly how you want to get a new lease in life. You want to find some new horizons. You have to let something old go and you boldly go where you haven't gone before. That's that first decan of Aries that I started with. The peacock. Wow. Okay. I always think of like, people strutting their stuff, peacock. Let's take a look at that for you. Now we're talking about eighth house, chunky money, work, career surprises, Uranus. That's the backdrop. Retrograde is definitely looking like a money story. Retrograde Saturn in your eighth house could also involve you in retrogradations around challenges that are like psychological baggage, to remove the psychological baggage that holds you back in life. I'm sorry, it's a bird, but I can't find it. Butterfly. It's an animal that flies. This is not me. There's no organization in this book. Hummingbird, crow, vulture. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. It's like taking time up on the video and I don't have all day here. Here, peacock. So your advice over the retrograde cycle of Saturn in Aries, inner and into Pisces, inner beauty, compassion, assimilator of anything. The bounty of the peacock is unrivaled. The beauty of the peacock is unrivaled. It's easy to think it comes from the plumage, but the secret of the peacock is that the beauty resides within and extends outwards indefinitely. The eighth house can be the esteem of others or the lack of esteem of others. So where we receive other people's appreciation, the gains of people's appreciation towards us as well. That's why we get the inheritances. This adept creature can assimilate or digest all experiences in life, so it does not harbor resentment, conflict, or past pain within its psyche. The peacock type is extremely rare. Not many of us have reached this advanced level of acceptance of self and others. Wow, Virgo. When you're in balance during this retrograde, you are confident and you are kind. Yeah, because some Virgos are so nitpicky towards others. When you're out of balance, you cannot digest situations. And I'd add, and then nitpick people, henpeck, nitpick. To bring into balance, you must, I don't say I'm trashing you guys, okay? I have a dozen or more Virgos in my life, including my own mom. So I speak what I know. Can't digest situations is when you're out of balance, and digest in quotes, meaning like you can't cope with things. You're not digesting reality. And you bring things into balance, you need to meditate on your navel gaze, go inward. And the eighth house is the deep spiritual house, the spiritual liberation, letting go of your egoic identity, going inward, going deeper. Sage like Saturn can help you do that. Occult mysteries are there. You might also go deeper into the occult mysteries and learn from an authoritative teacher as well. Moving on to the next sign, Libra. All right, Libras, let's get you rolling on the astrology and everyone can see what's going on in the sky. We have Saturn every 30 years, spends 3 years or so in Aries. He's back again. He got here on the 24th of May. And then he went retrograde on July 13th. Therefore, 24th of May to July 13th are particularly important when it comes to this new beginning, fresh start in Aries, especially because it's to boldly go where you haven't been before, to disabuse yourself of that which is old, outworn, and not needed, and to find fresh new ground and fresh horizons to expand into a new lease on your seventh house of marriage. Now, it's not just here comes the bride and groom. It's where you're in a committed love story, where you're dedicated to each other and monogamous and or living together. Those long-term stories are where the seventh house is. And so in essence, you might find yourself wanting to revise, reset, or rethink a long-term love story, especially with a chironic wound here. And that's love, friendship, and business partners. Is especially true with Chiron here. There's a bit of a woundedness here. And maybe some of you chose wounded partners in business and love. But also Neptune is pulling back the tide so you can see what's really there in that relationship. And Saturn is being reality check guy. Now, he gives you sagacity and wisdom, like, should I stay or should I go? Or will I keep this relationship? But it's just as likely that your partner is also in a reassessing mode, or your partner is looking at a new kind of reality or sobriety in their own life. And I don't mean just They can be more sober and realistic in their life, but they can also and look deep for some sage-like wisdom in their own reality. But then don't forget, Neptune can be about the addictive and mental health challenges. And so your partner may be going into a deeper layer of introspection about their own culpability around addictions, their own mental health challenges, and they might just be going inward and you're watching them do that. Saturn will test the long-term committed love house. He'll be here for almost 3 years. So you're in like kind of a make or break next 2.5, 3 years. It really picks up again next February. So a lot of people get through that and then build a solid foundation in an existing business and love partnership. All right, that's the good news. But otherwise, just know that if you can't build a solid foundation, a structural energy that lasts, and Saturn can also, like the Grim Reaper, end a relationship that you're, maybe not meant to keep. Saturn is in a sextile to Uranus. There's unexpected surprises to do with foreign people, foreign situations as this retrograde onset begins, as well as a deep transformation around sexuality, romantic love, creativity, and entrepreneurial projects, especially if you're someone in the book publishing industry at all or academic matters. Those are also highly powerfully transformed. And you may also be revising and revisioning contractual legal agreements, mediations, settlements, especially around art, creativity, entrepreneurship, but any of those kinds of things. Would I want to meet someone new under this? You could. Saturn retrograde here will give you somebody with whom you'll have a deep karmic relationship. But that new relationship is somebody from a foreign land or distant shore, perhaps, with huge transformational power of love energy going on here. For those of you who are maybe ready to encounter a new love story during this retrograde cycle that begins again May 24th to November 27th. Now, Saturn is the ruler of your house of good fortune and money luck. So you might come into some money luck in vis-a-vis legal agreements, partnerships, and situations involving contractual agreements, especially around art, creativity, and entrepreneurship. And he rules your fourth house of home, property, and real estate. Now, with the retrograde, you might want to actually think about your home, property, and real estate in terms of like architecture or devising structures or building things in your home, changing the structure of a home as he retrogrades through the 7th. And that would be you also, because he will retrograde into Pisces after, go watch the beginning. He starts off in Aries. The Pisces part of the story could be a lot of you hiring people, contractors, plumbers, painters, or something to do renovations or changes in the home. That's a possibility. Or even maybe look for a new rental property. And that's true. That's going to be unfolding during the retrograde, right? Through till November 27th, or renting a property out, that kind of thing. What about the Oracle deck? What does it have to say for you? Let's take a look and draw a card. We're using this deck by Kim Krans, and I need to, we'll do it in a minute. I'll pause the recording. And we'll see what you get, Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Let's see what we've got for you. What does the Kim Krans Animal Oracle deck say you should be up to? The unicorn. Oh my God. Like this is one of the non-real animals, right? It's only like 4 or 5, like sea serpents and unicorns. You're operating on third eye. Unicorn's got a horn in his third eye. Let's see what you're up to, Libras, using the unicorn energy to get through this retrograde cycle. Reconnecting to higher wisdom or to divinity. So there's a really simple plan there. That makes a lot of sense in this kind of chart for you. Actually, if you're preoccupied too much with some other person, whether it's your business partner, your public, your client, your audience, the retrograde Saturn is pulling you back as well from that focus on other. And so reconnecting instead to your higher wisdom or divinity. It's difficult to see, hear, or think of a unicorn without immediately questioning if it's real. Did they ever exist? The mind answers maybe, could be, no way. This very contemplation explains our relationship to divinity and encapsulates our wavering belief in the unicorn. We wonder what divinity is. We wonder where our intuition comes from and if we can really trust it. We think about higher power and our mind hesitates between yes and no and maybe. Is it a female or a male? Does it have a name? Is it just a feeling? The unicorn card appears and wakes us up, in quotes, wakes us up, wake me up inside, to curiosity about the higher self and the divine. It's a card of questioning, exploring, contemplating the inexplicable. The mind's eye knows there is something beyond our day-to-day life, a deeper dimension to our experience. The mind's eye reaches and reaches and reaches out to grasp something more. You are the unicorn, and you have begun your quest for the answers. And it's your sixth chakra, the third eye, the Ajna, the command center. It's responsible for our intellect, intuition, deepest wisdom, which Saturn wants to give you. Some say our two eyes see the past and present. Well, the third eye peers into the future. Okay, that's what I got for you. So use that unicorn perceptual apparatus, use the divinity connection and quest for higher meaning and purpose, not purpose, but the connected divine and intuition energies during this retrograde cycle. That's what I got. All right, we're moving on to the next sign. I need to be with my friend Renee at the waitress thing within, how much time do I have left? I'm going in slow motion today. I got to be there in an hour. I think I can get us done without rushing anybody. Now I'm going to just find another pillow because I'm sitting on my new sofa in my new place. And for goodness sakes, I haven't quite figured out if this is the best place to do my recordings or not. But I did pay for my sofa on my business account because I claimed it was a recording sofa. I should use it in case I get audited. Okay, hang on, guys. A sip of my dandelion ginger sparkling botanical tea, unsweetened, made in Canada, probably. Is it? No, it's got a bunch of states on here, like Connecticut. All righty. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's start at the very beginning here. Number one, you've got a Saturn transit like every 30 years, right? 29 and a half years through your sixth house of work, pets, tendencies, and rentals. Pets, I said pets. Health challenges is the house of sickness. Saturn here can bring karmic health challenges to any Scorpio rising. If you were alive 30 years ago, ask yourself what happened. Now, my son, who happens to be 36, and is not his reading, or is he 37, but whatever, had an onset of asthma back then. He hadn't had it before and really doesn't have it since. So childhood asthma, and that was an example of a karmic illness. So Saturn moving through here can bring some illnesses, but they're karmic and they will pass after the transit is over. They usually don't last, right? But Saturn has gone retrograde. So he started off in this pets, work, tendencies, rentals, work habits and routines, health, debts. He started there when? On the 24th of May. He retrogrades July 13th. Back to the same territory he traveled from May to July, back over the same ground until November 27th. So reality check around debts, right? So retrograde, eliminate the debt, reduce the debt, constrain the debt, assess the debt. Maybe assess situations regarding pets, reality check. A Great Dane won't fit in my 400 square foot apartment. What is needing to be assessed and revised and rethought with wisdom as a quotient here. Health, excuse me. Health matters. What kind of health challenges may be percolating? And now you're going to really go deep to uncover and see what the cause is, especially with Neptune retrograding as well. Have you been suffering from some kind of health problem and can't figure out what's wrong with you? This will give you the answer. Sorry, guys. Only for Scorpio can I not breathe and drink. Okay, I think I'm good. Okay. Hang on a sec. Let me just cough. I'm so thirsty and I inhaled my dandelion ginger. Instead of swallowing, I inhaled it. Sorry about that. Okay, so, and what lies do you tell yourself? I can work this hard. I can work in this job. I hate this job. Chironic wound. What lies have you been telling yourself about work, job, debts? Oh, I can pay this debt anytime. Or sure, I can add another 10 grand to my debt. So this is reality check. This is sober reality around debts and health matters and maybe pet matters and rental property situations. Neptune is also like what is ailing you that you can't quite put your finger on. Now you're getting clarity and realism here. Because also Saturn is involved with Pluto in the fourth house, there could be major changes coming for your home. especially regarding the word rental. But with Uranus in the eighth house, you could also purchase. So sudden, shocking, surprising, transformational changes in your home life over the next few months, to rent a property out as a landlord, to become a leasee, that kind of thing, to maybe change your home because you're going to be able to suddenly have the cash to buy a home. Saturn can be about karmic debts or money from your past that's owed you from long, long ago, at least 7 years ago, that comes back in a surge for you, maybe even through the inheritance structures of the sky. And so that could be a financial relief as well around debts and new surges of income or money or chunks of money that surprise you, but they're connected to the past. And it could even be as far back as 7 years ago. Maybe you had some money that was owed or due, and now it's going to come back again. Now, Saturn also rules your third house of trips, travels, and journeys and neighborhoods. Change your neighborhood, move to a new neighborhood. Pluto says move to a new home. So these are ways that this could also unfold for you. And finally, sometimes when Pluto moves to the fourth house, we move into a time in which we receive money from our family of origin through inheritances. And certainly there may be a surprise inheritance on the way. Jupiter's sun in the ninth house would say from father figures. Saturn says from elders. So that's just something to be aware of through to November 27th. What about what this, and Mars, the Lord of your sign, is with the South Node. You're revising, rethinking your dreams and wishes and goals and desires in life. You're ready almost to let go of the old dreams and goals and find something new. And, the money may appear to allow for that to happen. That could be one way to code this sky. I certainly would say to, let go of, you want a new lease on life when it comes to work and health, and to let go of the ways that you weren't not able to achieve those things in life, to find new paths, to boldly forge new horizons along the lines of health and work routines. I'll tell you one thing about Saturn in the sixth house. If you want to get healthy, you're serious about it. And if you want to get healthy, you're disciplined and structured about it, especially regarding food and dietary style. Let's pick a card from Kim Kranz. The deck is ready for you. And I'm now drawing from the Animal Oracle deck. And let's see what we get. Ooh, what was a strong energy? The hummingbird. I love that card so, so much. The hummingbird is usually about joy. But hummingbird synchronicities in my life in the last few years have been insane. So let's see what the hummingbird has for you. This is how to deal with the retrograde. Please understand that astrology and oracle, this kind of oracle draw goes with astrology. All right. So I don't want to listen to that stuff. It's not astrology. No, it's complementing the astrology. I don't know why I'm telling that to Scorpios. You guys are natural magicians anyway. But I can always see the comments. You know what I mean? It's like people always have to have something to complain about. Hummingbird. And I'm talking to myself too. I complain too much about things. Hummingbird. I'm complaining about the people complaining, right? It's like you're just like, that's the irony. Positive, enthusiastic, and spiritually resourceful. Positive, enthusiastic, and spiritually resourceful. Inside the tiny hummingbird resides an endless well of energy and positivity. Hummingbirds' secret is that they have learned where to gather nectar, and they return to these sources daily for nourishment and rejuvenation. Now, that makes sense because Saturn in the sixth house is like hard work, and he's retrograde. Pull back from the hard work. Where do you get that rejuvenation and nourishment? The sacred elixir springs from many sources, but usually involves nature, creativity, and exploring spirituality. My son is in a dumb sales job for PepsiCo. I don't think he really likes it. Just an example. He does music as a side hustle that gives him creative outlet. So go into your creativity, nature, spirituality to restore and rejuvenate. Follow the way of the hummingbird and you cannot go wrong. Every droplet of life becomes sweet and every moment becomes worth savoring. And if you're imbalanced in the retrograde cycle, through to November 27th, you are smart, you are curious, and you love to learn. And if you're out of balance, you're pushy, insistent, and sharp. And when you're in balance, you take a class. When's the last time you learned something new? When's the last time you danced? When's the last time that old phrase that comes from some native tradition, it says your spirit's dead. When's the last time you learned something new? I ask myself that a lot. When is the last time you learned something new or danced or whatever? Are you still alive? Where's your life force? Where are you coming into joy and wonder in this game of life? And we're moving into the next sign. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. So first of all, fire sign Sagittarius. This is a retrograde Saturn that trines you, okay, that flows to you. So it may not feel that big a deal to you. You're going to encounter something positive from this. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to go back and revise, revision, rethink some of my artistic or creative endeavors, my entrepreneurial projects, situations involving my children or my romantic partner in my sex life. And you kind of boldly pioneered here, like, Saturn hasn't been here for 30 years, into a new area of questioning. Saturn in the house of play and joy is to work hard to play, or play becomes hard work, or it's hard work can interfere with play, or the old man is in the house of wonder and innocence. So there's a contrary oil and water vibe here with Saturn in the fifth house sometimes. But Saturn is in a house of education and natural gifts and talents. So you might be able to master a natural talent or gift that you have as well. Saturn entered here on the 24th of May. Then he had to turn around at 2 Aries on July 13th. And as he goes backwards through November 27th, you're reinvestigating what new horizon you need to lean into as you're ready to let go of some old direction that no longer feels true. You want a new lease on creativity, romantic love, fertility, creativity, natural talents and abilities. Okay, I need to move myself into a more comfortable position. All right, so first of all, this is the house of your children. They may be going through things that they're having reality checks and sober-minded realism hit them. Okay, they're growing up or something. So keep it in mind. It may not even all be about you. But what lies have you told yourself about your creativity? What fictions have you been willing to digest about what your kid tells you is real and true for them? Saturn retrograde with Neptune would be a kid getting sober, going to rehab, finding their sobriety again in some way, but they had been lying to you and you believe them. Like, no, I don't drink at all. I don't do this at all. And you're like, okay, yeah, you do. And you're gonna, or your lover, same thing, lies, and sober-minded realism, not just addictions. Any kind of lies a lover would tell you, you now begin to see clearly what is real and true. No rose-colored glasses on that love story, right? No way. Now, Venus and Uranus in the 7th house of marriage and commitment, shock and awe, as the fog pulls back in the romance house, and Pluto in the 3rd house for powerful transformation, regeneration, and catharsis. There could be like a piece of information, an email, a phone call, a letter, something you discover here. This could be very illuminating about what you really want in a particular romantic relationship or in some situation connected to one of your children. For your creative projects and your artistic and entrepreneurial endeavors, you're also pulling back, revising and rethinking maybe some projects to do with Neptune, music, filmmaking, glamour, modeling, Hollywood, storytelling, and maybe you're just revising and restructuring an entire story or ditching it and starting something new. Those things could happen here. Borasisi is a fictional god created by a fiction writer. So this could also be for some of you about revising and transforming an idea that you had, especially with Pluto in the house of writing. And you are ruled by Lord Jupiter, and he's exalting your chunky money. So that's a side hustle story. But we must pay attention to Saturn here because he will be back full on next February 13th. And you're really going to live through a deeper investigation of how to be serious about your creativity, for example. And that, by the way, is to be the master of it. So your artistic, creative, entrepreneurial mastery is on the way next year. Well, we're going to go over to the Oracle deck by Kim Kranz, the Animal Oracle deck, and it is the Animal Spirit Guidebook, right? And pull a card about how you can navigate, move through, handle this retrograde of July 13th to November 27th. Remember, things that started on May 24th to July 13th are what you have to rethink, revise, and reassess. That new love relationship. Is he telling me the truth or her? That new situation with a child, that new creative project, that thing that you're going to boldly declare solid, done, and ready. You now have to rethink it or restructure it. What is the animal spirit that will sort of guide you through this process through to November 27th? The mouse. I dreamt about a rat last night, a brown rat. He was my friend, though. He wasn't causing me any harm. Mouse. Mouse. I think mice are cute. I'm not afraid of rodents. I don't know why people scream when they see a mouse. I totally never got that cliche. Mouse. It's in here. I'm just looking for it. It's in the earth. It's in the earth, people. Okay, mouse, detail oriented. How to get through the retrograde Sagittarius is to be detail oriented, small mind. And okay, it can mean you're small minded and you're nitpicky or you're nervous. That's like the downside. The mouse has an innate desire to tend to the details, and it often spends its days fixing, preparing, organizing, and scrutinizing. Unfortunately, a mouse personality doesn't notice when they have gone too far. Well, because you have Capricorn in your second house of finances, also pay attention to your finances as Saturn retrogrades, especially regarding romantic love finances, finances for children, finances for creative projects. Okay, details, be detail oriented. A mouse personality does not notice when they've gone too far. Soon they begin to have a limited and fearful vision of life, and they try to control every detail. This can be quite painful for both the mouse and those around them. When the mouse energy is at play, they step back for a moment. It may be time to find a more purposeful project and delve into that's worthy of your exacting eye. Well, purposeful projects would be a fifth house project, right? It's a Dharma house. When in balance, you are organized, resourceful, and prepared over the next several months. And when you're out of balance, you're busy with no purpose. And to bring yourself into balance, you need a meaningful project. Well, that makes sense because projects in art or creativity or entrepreneurship, they're at the playpen of the fifth house, where you procreate, we create, we birth things there. So get yourself onto maybe a bit of a purposeful project. So I think what I need to do these videos is my footstool, because I just don't like sitting. I'll be right back. I have autistic spectrum disorder, FYI. I found that out. Late life diagnosis, high masking. And I cannot sit with my legs square down on a chair. I never have been able to do that. Got me in trouble in school, FYI. Any other neurodivergence out there? I also have ADD. It's like crazy how sitting in a chair with my feet on the fucking floor, excuse my language, is awful. I've never been able to do it. In school, I always had one knee up at the desk minimum, and two if I could. And if I had a chance to sit on cross-legged on a floor or was sitting on a chair of any kind, I'd be on the floor. So that's what you guys get, Sag, is a whole diatribe at the end of your session about Lori's discomfort with sitting on chairs. Okay. Whew. There's a light in my new bathroom in my new apartment. It's so bright. I'm like, ah. So my guy's going to buy a dimmer switch, because I swear I can't do bright light, especially if the light is fluorescent, but just like, that is too much. I wonder how many people are going to criticize me for that. Don't talk about my own life. It's for us. It's all about me. I don't think I'm sharing, but maybe I am. Yes, I am. Moving on. We are into the next sign. I want to make sure I got it cued. I do. Hallelujah. We're getting to the end. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. Just because I have a day ahead of me. First off, you are going to experience Saturn transit through your fourth house once every 30 years, like for 3 years, every 30 years. It's already happened back in the day. It's back again. Saturn, though, entered here into Aries on May 24th with Neptune, first in a lifetime energy. And he basically will retrograde on the 24th. That means, on the July 13th timeframe to the 27th of November. This means that things that you were up to on the 24th of May to July 13th have to be revised, rethought, revision, restructured. It's your home, your property, land, real estate, where you live, your domicile, your relationship to your mom and dad, your childhood and your childhood memories, people you knew and your childhood, your home and homeland. Now, Saturn was forging ahead with new structure, new plans, new long game strategies at the end of May. And now in July 13th-ish, he's like, okay, let me revise, let me rethink. Saturn retrograde can have you rehome yourself to a place you've been before. So you might go back to rehome yourself in a place that you have gone before. This is also going to bring a lot of solitude, like the mountain dwelling monk, the hermit in the woods, in the cave, or in the cabin in the woods. This is a transit that brings people into alone solitude in the home, living alone, an elder living in the home, sagacity in the home, sometimes hardship in the home, or melancholy or fear, anxiety in the home. Depends on how spiritually aware you are. After 44, you got a handle on Saturn. So don't be a victim of the story. Get a hold of it. Get ahead of it. Saturn will be here for 3 years. A lot of you will prefer to live alone. This is a classic loner transit. One thing about Saturn here is he's going to bring you deep spiritual wisdom, and he's going to help you understand the family karma and the ancestral karma. Now, he got a little bit in there. You might have had some, oh my God, now I understand myself in the light of my mom, my dad, my ancestors, in the light of my childhood. Maybe you got some insights there. As he pulls back, other than changing a home to a place you've been before, which you could, you know that the Decan is asking you, the first Decan, it's asking you to actually boldly declare something fresh and new. Something's outworn itself here. It's the end of a lease. You need a new lease on where you live, you know? And that might literally be with Uranus, Venus, a shocking, surprising opportunity to rent a new home, or to be a landlord with a new tenant. But the idea of indentured rentals, right? You could become a tenant of some sort because of this. But with Uranus, it's a bit of a surprise. It comes in left field. You weren't anticipating it, or you didn't plan it the way it wasn't deeply planned. And Pluto is transforming your wealth and your relationship to wealth, money, and power. He'll be doing that till 2044. But right now, Pluto supports this transition of home. But with the retrograde Saturn, if you guys change your home by the end of November, or get all the pegs in place to do that, because he will go direct and you might not finish it up until next February, there is a possibility of a change of home. But retrograde Saturn, you've been there before. This is something to do with a place you have once been to. Okay, so maybe it was in some place you were in May. Maybe it was 7 years ago. There's a 7-year cycle with Saturn. Where did you live 7 years ago? Maybe you're going to go back to where you lived 7 years ago. That's a classic example. The fog is pulling back. Neptune's pulling back the tide. You see the creepy crawlies under the ocean. You see what's real and what's true. No one's deluding you anymore. Boy, are you on your A game with realism and super sobriety, but you're also expectant of new horizons. And there's a bold declaration for something to happen new and fresh. Your soul is wanting that Two of Wands card to happen, a new horizon in the kingdom of your home, and ending that chironic wound of where's my true home since 2019. And Saturn also does rule your health, your body for a Capricorn rising, your career for a Capricorn sun, and your home for a Capricorn moon. So Capricorn moon is really going to hit you in the homestead, but Capricorn sun in the career matters, change of home connected to career. Did you have a career path 7 or 8 years ago? Maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, and you live somewhere for that career. Maybe it comes back, for example. All right. So there's so many ways this could play out. This is not your natal chart, but I'm giving you some ideas, right? Some ideas to understand it for sure. So what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to draw a card for you, but I also want you to know that you are Saturn ruled, as is Aquarius. So you have to pay attention to Saturn. This is not a small deal. Where Saturn goes, you go. You must watch Saturn in the sky. He moves slowly, 2.5 years to 3 years per sign. Because of retrogradation, it turns out to be 3 calendar years. You need to watch this because this planet tells you what's next. And what's next for you is something to do with boldly pioneering a new home. Aries can be about hot, warm places, maybe volcanic places, but also Aries is about places where very few people live. It's like the frontier. So in horary, Aries would be a place where few people go. So you might be wanting to move to a more of a place where it's not so populated, for example. Consider that. I have an ex-Capricorn husband, and he lives in Portugal. I bet you he's going to come back home, repatriate to the home. Consider doing that back to Canada with a retrograde Saturn here, right? Reality check. Portugal isn't so fun after all. I just made that up. Who knows? I'll let you know if that happens. Okay. But I can see it happening, actually. All right. So then we're going to move on to your sign on the checking your animal spirit that guides you through the retrograde. The retrograde is going to have you revise things that you were putting into place May 24th. And up to 7 years ago, certain features can return. But May 24th to July 13th, you went forward. Got to go back and rethink this one. Then you went back. You're going to go back July 13th, all the way to November 27th. And this is the animal ally for you that supports the best sagacity, inner knowing, and wisdom that you can acquire during this retrograde. The elephant. Ooh, look at that beautiful third eye dot there and the fire in the trunk. Elephant energy. Ooh, I have no idea what this one is. I really don't know the deck well enough to say, oh yeah, that's that. So, although I've had this deck for years, you know what I'm saying? Because I haven't drawn enough elephants in my life. Errol, it's near the end, so it's a higher level being. Unstoppable, auspicious, wise. The elephant is arguably the most auspicious figure in the deck. Like Ganesh, the elephant represents immense wisdom as well as good fortune. It is said that the great elephant is the destroyer of obstacles. So if this card appears when you feel stuck, rest assured, the paths will become clear. To add to the mystery, the elephant is known to create obstacles in order to steer us in the right direction. So redirects. You're going to get an obstacle to redirect you. You could trust this gentle, noble creature. It illuminates the way with a light of self-knowledge. I would get a Ganesh statue if I were you guys. In any Indian store, tons of Ganesh statues. Ganesh. When in balance, one-pointed, focus, and generous, loving. So that's how you want to be. You want to be one-pointed in your focus. You want to be generous, and you want to be loving. But when you're going to be out of balance during the retrograde, you are going to feel you misunderstand fate. You're arguing with reality. You're misunderstanding fate. And to bring yourself into balance, trust in the divine plan. Trust all is well. Trust the next thing you need and where you live will land on your doorstep. Do I have like hair stuck to my ear? No, it's just a shadow. Moving on to the next sign. Oh my goodness gracious. I got to roll, guys. Got to meet somebody on front of a theater. Aquarius, I am one of you. We are sun, moon, and rising. I am rising. You are having a Saturn, your Lord Saturn, transiting through your third house, last seen 29 years ago. Add 3 years. So get a calendar, do the math. And so you can say 30 years from 2025, right? My brain doesn't do math. I'm dyscalculia. You guys do it. 25, 15, 2005, 1995. Okay. So like kind of around like 95, 96, 97. So here we have Saturn transiting through the third house retrograde. He went in here for the first in a lifetime because he's hooking up with Neptune. That's first in a lifetime. He got here back in the 24th of May. And on the 24th of May, until July 13th, you thought you had a handle on something. It's that writing project, that teaching project, that social media endeavor, that trip or travel, that learning curve. You wanted to study a course or you were studying. You thought you had a handle on your communications and your ideas. You thought you had a handle on a sibling relationship. You thought they had a handle on a neighbor situation or a neighborhood. Then Saturn turns retrograde and you have to revise, rethink, and you have to go deeper to know. You're asking for sagacity here. You're asking for deep wisdom. And as he goes retrograde, you're going to notice that you can find a new horizon of something fresh and bold and ambitious as you let go of the old stuff that is no longer working. You need a new lease on writing, creativity, writing, teaching, marketing, selling, learning, traveling, neighbors, neighborhood, and siblings. New lease, fresh territory, new horizons are here. And seeing what's true and real, pulling back the fog, not believing your own lies or your own self-told fictions about what's possible. And all of that said, you've had a chironic wound here as well since 2019, not really finding the right neighborhood or the right local environment or the right writing project or whatever, just kind of missing the mark a bit because you're looking for purpose with Chiron, real deep meaning and gifts and talents and purpose. So I can relate. I don't want to be an astrological weather girl. I think that's not my tombstone legacy, please. So just telling you the weather every day astrologically would be missing the mark. And that's a chironic wound, for example. With this story, We have Pluto transforming your Aquarian sun, your career, transforming, deathing, and rebirthing your Aquarian home. If it's your Aquarius moon in your rising sign, anything about your life, you are transforming, you are rebirthing, your identity is shifting, you're transpersonally motivated and evolutionarily inspired. And as this is a truth for you, you also notice that Uranus in the fifth house of creativity, art, the muse, romance, children, and entrepreneurship is bringing a nice little surprise, positive surprise with Venus during this retrograde. You could be on a writing project, you get a publishing deal. You be working on a art or creative or entrepreneurial endeavor, and a positive surprise emerges. You could win money. I should have said Pluto is wealth trining Saturn, Venus in the house of lottery wins or speculation and gambling. And you could come into some lucky money sort of scenarios, Aquarius, that then allow you to be more sage-like and true and wise in what you're doing in the third house, because it's a busy house. We do so much there. We go to our stores and restaurants. We spend time socializing with people in our local neighborhood. We travel. It's very distracting, Cadent house. We write, we communicate, we teach, we learn. It's busy, busy, busy. It's busyness. Now you can go deeper, revise, revision, rethink. Saturn is the ruler also of your 12th house of what you do in aloneness, spirituality, illumination of your soul. Also, maybe your addictions and self-undoing, struggling with any of those things. Retrograde Saturn, especially into Pisces, can really help you get the final answer, the handle on any undoing, self-undoing addictive substances, habits, and patterns. So that's another part of this retrograde through to November 27th that might be on the menu for you, haha, so to speak. And we're going to draw out an animal card. By the way, with Uranus and Venus together, unexpected breakthroughs in romantic love and sexuality connected to trips and travel to places you've been before. That would be a code. Transforming the power of love in romance and intimacy, for example, through travel and journey to places you have once before traveled. You can go back to somewhere you traveled 7 years ago, or you can go back to somewhere you traveled since May 24th. Those are stories. 7 years ago. What is 7 years ago, guys? 2018, right? I'd say 17, 18. Okay. Funny, I'm going to be driving into the interior British Columbia, where I last traveled in summer of 2017. And I'm going to do that, soon. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yes, I moved next to, not too far from a hospital and a fire hall. Okay, here we go. What's your animal spirit message for you? What is the animal guide that's going to walk you, Aquarians, through the next several months till the November 27th station direct? Whoa, that was so strong. I almost had electric shock in my hand for that. The dragonfly, the dragonfly. Wow, let's take a look at the beautiful card, isn't it? Oh my God. I had a dragonfly in 2018 land on my finger, a red dragonfly, and it was a beautiful moment. I took a photo of it, and that's 7 years ago. So we're in that cycle. Dragonfly. Okay, it's got a little crisscross on the top, so it means it's an animal that flies. Bees, butterflies, bats, moths. I bet she puts dragonfly in a higher level animal. Crows, vultures, owls, dragonfly. Thanks, Kim Kranz. Master of light. Master of light. We need to be a master of light. Illusion and the mind. The dragonfly is an ancient and ethereal creature that awakens a sense of wonder in all. The dragonfly is a symbol of the mind, as it is always moving, shifting, shimmering, and changing. When the dragonfly card appears, Aquarius, it's worth considering the quality of your mind and perception. Is it restless or still? Mine's restless. I need to still it. Dreamlike or crystal clear? The situation at hand may be different than it appears at first glance. The dragonfly reminds us to calm the mind so the light of wisdom, Saturn is wisdom and sagacity, calm the mind so the light can shine through. You can't make this stuff up, but did you know that the mind is the third house? It's the mind, is what we think. That's why our ideas are there. Wow. So, okay, fellow Aquarians, do you understand that we need to calm our mind so that the light of wisdom can shine through? And this is the ally that allows us to do that between now and November 27th. When you're in balance, you see clearly, You're joyful and magical. And don't forget, retrograde Saturn can have us study and learn or teach something we've studied, learned, or taught before. I'll be teaching Sky Reader for the 6th time. When you're in balance, you see clearly, you're joyful, and you're magical. Okay, I'm going to write this on my wall. I'm going to put this on a poster. I'm going to make a painting of this to remind myself that I should be actually joyful, magical, right? And seeing clearly, because I've been really grumpy and gnarly lately. When you're out of balance, you cannot concentrate and you have a busy mind. I confess, yes, that's been me lately. And to bring into balance, I focus on the breath. It's more yoga nidra before bed, right? So tell me how you guys have been doing. Fellow Aquarians, does any of that resonate for you? It sure did for me. Finally, we're moving into Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Here we go, Pisces. Hang on. I don't see the share. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. Let's get you rolling. You are going to be experiencing this, every 30-year Saturn transit through the house of earnings, money, and resources, like 95, 6, 7, and 1995, 6, 7. And this is the first retrograde. This is going to pull back from territory Saturn crossed into Aries, second house, May 24th, 2025. And now he's going to go backwards over old ground. That was May 24th to July 13th. Now backwards, July 13th to November 27th, kind of crossing back over old territory. Possibly here, what you might experience is a kind of reassessment of your finances, your savings, the money and resources and possessions you have. Saturn will you'll be more drawn to antiques, by the way, and old stuff during this transit, and also saving your money and also maybe incorporating or making your finances more structured. That's going to be a 3-year story. But also he barely got in there and he's on that Decan of bold, fresh, new beginnings, new horizons in your finances, letting go of the old past that don't serve you, a new lease on your financial life, so to speak. So as he's pulling back, you're going to be looking for something different to happen and having to use wisdom to understand your finances in a new and different way. And you're seeing with Neptune, the fog roll back of what isn't realistic. It's a sober reality check on money and money matters and possessions. And you won't believe the financial lies others tell you or you tell yourself, especially resources shared with a spouse, just so you know. With Uranus in the 4th house, there's a bit of a shock and awe around surprises coming from real estate, property, land, maybe money with Venus there, or from a female you knew in your childhood, and a financial surprise coming for you to help heal the chironic wound that you've been sort of having to sit on financially, more or less since 2019. Pluto is transforming your wealth from deep behind the scenes in the house of karma, family of origin, past lives, money stories, scarcity and stories. Maybe you took a vow of poverty or chastity or of poverty. That's Pluto trying to unbury it, bring it to your recognition. It's been hidden. Illuminate the family of origin and the stories of the ancestors and your past lives regarding matters of financial self-sufficiency and self-worth. And you're having a shocking illumination coming off this retrograde where you see how you might have been your own worst money enemy. You spend it all. You don't save it. You lose it. You don't care, supposedly, but you do. You're going to be reassessing this. Neptune retrograde with Saturn is really helping you pierce the veil of illusion about money. Whatever money illusions you've held or delusions you've held, you're seeing now clearly. It's very deeply useful to see what's really there. Saturn will show you realistically what you have and what you don't have and what you might need and what you might want in the future. Saturn is the ruler of your 11th house of great gains in your career. Why not get some of those great gains? Why not make a lot of money in your career? Don't rely on the other monies you have or don't have. What about actually making money in alignment with your goals and dreams and wishes for your life? Also, digital income, foreign revenue. He's the ruler of your Pluto-rich 12th house. Make money from foreign places, foreign people, and foreigners. So you're having a money revision. You want new horizons financially. You have to pull back the tide and see what's realistic. And then you can move forward November 27th into, February, when February 13th, he crosses back into Aries. You're doing some internal work because he will retrograde into your sign. On a practical note, dietary habits and changes, revisions in what you eat, and changes to do with your dental hygiene, mouth, This transit could have you go back and revisit the dentist, revise a strategy around oral health, dental health. Teeth belong to the second house. Or even revise a strategy around facial rejuvenation, if any of you are up to that kind of thing, right? All right, so now what we're going to do for you is draw a card from this deck. And we're going to draw a card that's about how an animal ally will support you during the retrogradation to November 27th. What spirit animal ally do you have working on your behalf? Oh, the whale, a Pisces water sign like you guys. You get the whale. Come on. Whale. Now, Saturn does retrograde back into Pisces during this cycle. Go watch my intro. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that, but he's going back through Aries and then into Pisces and then back up from Pisces to Aries again. I gave you a screenshotable about that in the beginning of the video. But we're focused on the Aries story because it's the fresh new territory. Here's the whale. It's an animal that's in the water. Come on, whale. I don't want to go too long, guys. I got to meet somebody. All right, whale, desire to delve deeper, profound peace, and ancient wisdom. Well, Saturn is ancient wisdom. He's in the house of values, in the house of self-worth, in the house of possessions, in the house, you can possess some ancient wisdom. The whale represents profound emotional health and stability. Whale personalities are not afraid of emotional expression or traversing difficult terrain, as they have overcome many challenges in their life. These experiences have enriched them, given them stability, strength, and depth that's rare. Whale energy is usually linked to the feminine forces of compassion and communication. We can depend on whale personalities when all else seems lost and trust them to be a beacon in our darkest hour. When you're in balance during this retrograde, whale will help you be calm, steady, and deeply compassionate. When you are out of balance in this retrograde, you will be heavy and you will slip into your old story about the wealth, possessions, and money, and resources and values. And when you bring yourself into balance, it's regular self-care, because self-worth and all of that, self-esteem belongs to the second house of values. So take care of yourself. Saturn retrogrades into the house of your body during this cycle to go back and help you solidify the health of your body for the rising Pisces especially. All right, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't have time for an outro. I usually have an outro at the end of my videos, other than to remind you to check out my Sky Reader class. I'd love to see you in class, April and May. It'd be fun to teach you guys how to time your best life and be your own astrologer. Information is in the description box below. Thank you so very much and enjoy your Saturn retrograde.